It's strange how life can shift in an instant. One minute you're sitting across from the person you've built a life with, sharing dinner like you have 1,000 times before. The next, a single sentence slips from their lips, and suddenly, the entire foundation of your world starts to crack beneath you. "I need space, Eldon." Marjorie's voice was calm. Too calm. It wasn't angry, it wasn't emotional, it was almost rehearsed, like she'd been saying those words in her head for weeks, waiting for the right moment to drop them into conversation like they meant nothing. I felt my stomach twist. I tried to keep my expression neutral, but my mind was already racing. "Space?" I echoed, forcing a small chuckle. "Like a weekend trip? Sometime alone?" She hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. Marjorie wasn't the type to struggle with words. She always knew exactly what to say, exactly how to say it. And yet, here she was, pausing, calculating. "I just think we've been in each other's pockets too much lately. I need some time to breathe." That should have been my first clue, because we weren't in each other's pockets. If anything, I had been giving her more freedom than ever. She was always going out with friends, coming home late from work, disappearing into her phone at night. I never questioned it. I never wanted to be the jealous, possessive husband. Maybe that was my mistake. I swallowed the knot in my throat and nodded. "Okay." Her eyebrows lifted slightly, like she hadn't expected me to agree so easily. "Okay?" she repeated. "Yeah, if that's what you need, I won't stand in your way." Marjorie blinked. I could see the flicker of surprise in her expression just for a second before she covered it up. That was my second clue. I should have asked more questions. I should have demanded answers. But I didn't. Instead, I told her she could take all the space she needed, and that's when everything started unraveling. For the first few days, I didn't change anything. I went to work, came home, cooked for myself, and went to bed alone. At first, it felt kind of nice, like a reset. No passive-aggressive comments about the way I loaded the dishwasher, no cold shoulder when I forgot to text her during lunch. Just quiet. But then the quiet started to feel off. I noticed little things. The way her side of the closet was half empty, the way she suddenly stopped posting pictures of us online, the way her text replies got shorter, more delayed, more distant. Then, on the fourth night, I saw something that made my heart stop. I had been scrolling through social media mindlessly when I saw it. Someone had posted a group photo from a bar downtown, and there she was. Marjorie, in the background, smiling, laughing, sitting far too close to a man I had never seen before. Her space wasn't empty. It had already been filled. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying that image over and over in my head. Marjorie, smiling in the dim light of a bar, looking happier than she had in months, maybe even years. And that man, he wasn't just some stranger standing next to her. The way her body was angled toward him, the way his hand rested so casually on the back of her chair. It was obvious. Too obvious. I wanted to believe it was innocent. I told myself she had every right to go out, to have fun. After all, I was the one who had agreed to give her space, wasn't I? But deep down, I already knew the truth. I had known it the moment she hesitated to answer my question at the dinner table. This wasn't about needing space. This was about making space for someone else. Still, I wasn't the kind of man to jump to conclusions. I needed to be sure. The next morning, I got up, went to work, and pretended everything was fine. I answered emails, sat through meetings, even laughed at a stupid joke my coworker made. But the entire time, My mind was somewhere else. My hands clenched my phone so tightly that my knuckles ached, my thumb hovering over Marjorie's name in my messages. I wanted to text her, to ask her where she had been, who she was with, why she hadn't told me she was going out. But I didn't. Instead, I waited. That evening, I drove home like usual. But this time, I didn't pull into our driveway. Instead, I parked a few houses down, where I had a clear view of our front door, but wasn't immediately noticeable. I don't know what I was expecting to see. Maybe I was hoping to catch her sneaking someone inside, to finally confirm what my gut was already screaming at me. But what I saw instead left me even more confused. She wasn't home. For 2 hours, I sat in my car, watching the house grow darker as the sun dipped below the horizon. My stomach twisted with every passing minute. Where the hell was she? Then, just as I was about to give up and go inside, I saw headlights approaching. A sleek black car pulled up in front of the house, and my breath caught in my throat. The driver's side door opened, and Marjorie stepped out. She was wearing a dress I hadn't seen before. Tight, low-cut, something she never wore around me. Her hair was curled in loose waves, her lips painted a deep red. She looked different, like a woman who was still trying to impress someone. And it wasn't me. I gritted my teeth, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly I thought it might snap in half. But I didn't move. I didn't storm up to her and demand answers. I just watched as she lingered by the car, leaning into the open window, laughing softly at something the driver said. Then, to my absolute horror, she reached inside and cupped the man's face in her hands. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. The air in my lungs vanished. She kissed him. It wasn't a friendly kiss. It wasn't a thank you for the ride kiss. It was the kind of kiss a wife shouldn't be giving to anyone but her husband. I couldn't look away. My fingers dug into my palms, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Every part of me screamed to get out of the car, to call her name, to make her see me standing there, witnessing her betrayal. But I didn't. Instead, I sat there, frozen, watching as she finally pulled away, smiled, and whispered something to him before heading inside. The car drove off into the night, taking whatever was left of my trust with it. I don't know how long I sat there after that. My mind was blank, empty, just like the space she had created between us. Only now, I realized she hadn't needed space from me. She needed space for him. I barely remember walking into the house that night. My body moved on autopilot, my mind too numb to process what I had just seen. The same home that had once felt warm and familiar now felt cold, foreign, like I was intruding in someone else's life, someone else's marriage. Her purse was on the entryway table, her heels kicked off carelessly by the door. I could hear the shower running upstairs. My breath felt shallow, like I was trying to breathe through a straw. It was so normal, so routine. Like she hadn't just spent her night with another man, like she hadn't just shattered the last remnant of my trust. I wanted to confront her. I wanted to storm up those stairs, yank open the bathroom door, and demand the truth. But I knew what she would do. She'd lie. She'd act like I was paranoid, tell me I was overreacting, twist it into something it wasn't. And maybe, before tonight, I would have believed her. Maybe I would have let her gaslight me into thinking I was crazy, into doubting my own eyes. But not anymore. Instead, I walked past the staircase and into the kitchen, where I poured myself a drink with a hand that wouldn't stop shaking. I sat at the table, the same table where she had once told me she needed space, and I finally understood what that had really meant. She didn't want distance. She wanted freedom. freedom to live two lives without consequence. As I sat there, staring at the amber liquid swirling in my glass, my mind raced through every moment leading up to this. All the late nights at work, the sudden obsession with her appearance, the way she had pulled away from me little by little, so subtly that I hadn't even noticed it happening. I had been a fool. The sound of the shower shutting off pulled me from my thoughts. My pulse pounded in my ears. I knew she would come downstairs soon, freshly showered, her skin scrubbed clean of any trace of the man she had been with tonight. And that thought, that was what broke me. She wasn't just lying to me. She was rewriting reality, erasing every trace of her betrayal so she could crawl into our bed and pretend that nothing had changed. I heard her footsteps on the stairs. My jaw clenched. A few seconds later, she appeared in the doorway, wrapped in one of my old t-shirts, her hair still damp. She smiled when she saw me. Smiled. "Hey," she said softly, walking toward me like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't just kissed another man on our front porch. "You're up late." I studied her, my grip tightening around my glass. "Yeah, couldn't sleep." She tilted her head slightly, watching me. I knew that look. She was trying to read me, trying to gauge how much I knew. I forced myself to take a slow sip of my drink, keeping my expression neutral. "Good night out?" There it was, the briefest flicker of hesitation in her eyes. It lasted less than a second, but I caught it. "Yeah," she said, sliding into the chair across from me. "Just had some drinks with the girls. Nothing crazy." Nothing crazy. I almost laughed. Instead, I nodded. "Sounds fun." I could see the relief in her posture. She thought she had gotten away with it. She thought I was still the clueless husband, the one who never questioned her, never doubted her. And maybe that was my fault. I had made it too easy for her. She reached across the table, her fingers brushing against mine. "You okay?" The irony of that question made my stomach churn. But I didn't pull away. Not yet. Because the truth was, I wasn't okay. And neither was she. She just didn't know it yet. I barely slept that night. I lay in bed next to Marjorie, staring at the ceiling, my body rigid, while she slept soundly beside me. The scent of her freshly washed hair filled the room, mixing with the quiet hum of the ceiling fan. It was almost peaceful, almost normal. But I wasn't stupid enough to fall for that illusion anymore. She had come home after being with him, kissed me goodnight, and drifted off like nothing had changed. And maybe for her, nothing had. Maybe she had been doing this for months, maybe even years. Maybe I have been blind for far longer than I realized. I turned my head slightly, watching her in the dim glow of the streetlight outside. Her lips were slightly parted, her breath even, her face serene. I felt nothing but cold detachment as I studied her. This was the woman who had once sworn before family and friends that she would be faithful to me, that she would love me in sickness and in health. And now here she was, sleeping off a night with another man, completely unbothered by the damage she was causing. I needed to know the truth. The next morning, I woke up before she did. I slipped out of bed, moving carefully so I wouldn't wake her. My stomach was in knots as I made my way downstairs, my hands already itching to grab my phone and start looking for answers. I hesitated in the kitchen, staring at the device on the counter. Did I really want to do this? Did I really want to confirm what I already knew in my gut? Yes. Because this wasn't about paranoia anymore. This was about knowing. I picked up her phone. It was locked, of course. but I had seen her enter her passcode 100 times without thinking about it. My fingers moved on instinct, and just like that, I was in. I went straight to her messages, scrolling past the usual conversations with friends and family. But then, there it was. A name I didn't recognize. Joel. My pulse pounded in my ears as I opened the thread. Last night was amazing. I can still feel you all over me. My hands clenched into fists. Wish I could wake up next to you instead. I forced myself to breathe, to keep scrolling. There were more messages, so many more. Flirty, playful, intimate. This wasn't some recent fling. This had been going on for weeks, maybe longer. Then I saw something that made my stomach drop. A message from her to him. Eldon has no clue. I think he actually believes I just need space. I set the phone down carefully, my mind spinning. She had played me. She had laughed about it. And all this time, I had been sitting at home giving her space like a fool, while she was out filling it with someone else. I straightened up, my jaw tight. This wasn't just betrayal. This was humiliation. And I was done playing her game. I stood in the kitchen for what felt like hours, staring at the phone on the counter as if it might change the reality of what I had just read. My heartbeat pulsed in my ears, but my breathing was steady. Unnaturally steady. I wasn't angry in the way I expected. No yelling, no punching walls, no outburst of emotion. Instead, a cold clarity settled over me, an eerie calm that I hadn't felt in weeks. I finally understood what was happening. Marjorie wasn't just having an affair. She was toying with me. She had tested my trust, dangled the word space in front of me like a magician's misdirection, making sure I looked one way while she disappeared into another man's arms. And the worst part? She enjoyed it. She had laughed about my ignorance, probably even bragged about how easy it was to pull this off. I wasn't going to give her that satisfaction anymore. I locked her phone, placed it exactly where I had found it, and walked away. The old me, the trusting, clueless husband, was gone. What was left was someone colder, someone who wasn't going to let her rewrite reality any longer. By the time she woke up, I was in the living room, sipping coffee like nothing had changed. She walked in, stretching with a soft yawn, wearing one of my shirts like she always did. The sight of her used to make my chest tighten with affection. Now, it just felt like a joke I wasn't laughing at. "Morning," she murmured, rubbing her eyes as she walked toward the coffee pot. "You're up early." I took a slow sip before answering. Just couldn't sleep. She nodded, grabbing a mug and pouring herself a cup. Yeah, me neither. The audacity. I studied her for a moment, watching the way she avoided my gaze. She had no idea I knew. No idea that the words she had typed to Joel had burned themselves into my memory. Eldon has no clue. Oh, but I did. And I wasn't going to react the way she expected. She leaned against the counter, taking a sip of her coffee before giving me a small smile. "Maybe we should go out tonight. Just the two of us." I almost laughed. I almost asked her if she'd consulted Joel before making that offer. Instead, I nodded, keeping my expression unreadable. "Yeah, that sounds nice." She brightened, clearly relieved. Was this part of her plan? Was she trying to keep me comfortable, to keep her illusion intact for just a little longer? Fine. Let's play. That day, I went about my routine like usual, except this time, I was watching, listening, picking up on every detail I had ignored before. The way she kept her phone close, the quick glances at her screen when she thought I wasn't looking, the way she left the room to take certain calls. I didn't question her. I didn't accuse her. I didn't give her anything that would make her suspect that I was onto her. Instead, I let her weave her web a little tighter, let her feel safe in the lies she had built. That night, we went to dinner, just like she had suggested. She dressed up for me, played the role of the doting wife, smiling across the table like she wasn't hiding another life behind her eyes. I matched her energy, laughed at the right moments, even reached for her hand like I was still the man she thought she had fooled. She had no idea that I had already seen the message she sent to Joel before we left the house. Dinner with Eldon tonight. Gotta keep things normal, LOL. I'll come over after. I had read it while she was in the shower, her phone lighting up with his reply. Don't let him kiss you too much. That mouth belongs to me now. I should have felt rage. Instead, I felt something darker, something colder. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was about control. She thought she had it. She thought she was leading the game, but she had no idea that I had already flipped the board. By the time we got back from dinner, Marjorie was relaxed, thinking she had everything under control. She walked into the house, kicked off her heels, and stretched, letting out a satisfied sigh. If I hadn't known better, I would have thought it was a normal night between a husband and wife. But I did know better. And that made everything feel like a performance, a script she had memorized to keep me blind for just a little longer. She turned to me with a smile. That was nice, wasn't it? I nodded, matching her energy, making sure she saw exactly what she wanted to see. Yeah, it was. She stepped closer, running a hand down my arm, the same hand that had probably been all over Joel the night before. The thought made my stomach turn, but I didn't flinch. Not yet. I'm exhausted, she murmured. I think I'm just going to shower and head to bed. Of course she was. She had already planned the next part of her night. I smiled, pressing a soft kiss to her forehead. Go ahead, I'll clean up down here. She hesitated for half a second, like she wasn't sure if I was being too agreeable. But in the end, my performance was flawless. She nodded, gave me a peck on the cheek, and headed upstairs. I waited until I heard the water running, then I picked up her phone. I didn't go to her messages this time. I already knew what I would find there. Instead, I went straight to her location settings. She had been sloppy. Her phone was still connected to our shared account, and within seconds, I could see every place she had been in the last week. The bar, a hotel, a small apartment complex on the other side of town. Joel wasn't just some random fling. He had his own place, a place where she felt safe enough to visit more than once. I exhaled slowly, placing the phone back exactly where I found it. Then I walked to the fridge, grabbed a beer, and waited. Marjorie took her time getting ready for bed. Normally, she would have come downstairs in one of my t-shirts, her hair damp, settling in next to me on the couch. But tonight, she had other plans. She came downstairs fully dressed, her makeup fresh, her hair styled, a bag slung over her shoulder. She froze when she saw me sitting on the couch, watching her. I raised an eyebrow, taking a slow sip of my drink. Going somewhere? She swallowed, recovering quickly. Yeah. Veronica just called. She's having a rough night. I figured I'd go check on her. A bold lie. Veronica wasn't even in town this week. I knew that because she had told me 3 days ago. I let her squirm in the silence, let her stand there waiting for me to challenge her. But I didn't. Instead, I smiled. Of course, give her my best. Her eyes narrowed slightly, but she nodded, clearly relieved that I wasn't pushing. I'll be back later. I leaned back into the couch, watching as she walked toward the door, my heartbeat steady. She was about to leave to see him, but she had no idea that I was right behind her. The moment her car pulled out of the driveway, I grabbed my keys. I kept my distance, making sure my headlights were off as I followed her through the dimly lit streets. My hands gripped the wheel, my pulse slow and controlled. She thought she was so careful, thought she had planned everything perfectly. She had no idea just how close I was. 10 minutes later, she pulled into the parking lot of an apartment complex. She parked in a space near the back, stepped out of her car, and checked her reflection in the window before heading toward one of the units. I didn't move. I just sat there, watching, waiting, letting reality settle in. She knocked twice. The door opened. A man stood there, silhouetted against the light from inside. He grinned, pulling her inside without hesitation. And just like that, my wife disappeared into another man's home. She had no idea I was watching, but she was about to find out. I didn't move for a long time. I just sat there, gripping the steering wheel, staring at the door that had swallowed my wife into another man's life. My breath was slow and steady, but my mind was running in 1,000 directions at once. I had imagined this moment so many times over the past few days, wondering how I would feel, what I would do. But now that it was happening, all I felt was numb. She was inside that apartment, probably draped across his couch, laughing, maybe kissing him the way she used to kiss me. Maybe more. My stomach clenched. But still, I didn't move. This was it. The moment of truth. But I wasn't going to barge in there like some jealous, broken husband. I wasn't going to scream or make a scene. That's what she expected. That's what all men like me are supposed to do when they catch their wives cheating. She wanted space. She was about to get more than she ever bargained for. I took my time driving home, letting the weight of the moment settle in. My marriage was over. Maybe it had been for a long time. The only difference was that now, I was the one calling the shots. When I walked into the house, I didn't feel the usual warmth of familiarity. The furniture, the framed pictures, the scent of her perfume lingering in the air. It all felt like props in a life that had already ended. I went straight to the bedroom, pulling an old duffel bag from the closet. I packed methodically, not out of impulse, but with complete clarity. Clothes, essentials, a few things that actually mattered to me. Nothing else. I wasn't the one who should be leaving, but I didn't care about winning the house. She could keep it. Let her sit in this space alone. Let her wonder why I wasn't here when she got back. Once I was done, I placed my wedding ring on her nightstand, right next to the framed photo from our wedding day. The same one where she had been smiling up at me like I was her whole world. What a joke. Before leaving, I grabbed a pen and a piece of paper. My hand was steady as I wrote, "You wanted space. Now you have it. Don't call me. Don't text me. Enjoy your new life. I won't be part of it." I left the note on the kitchen counter, right next to her favorite coffee mug. And then I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't look back. For the first time in weeks, I felt free. I stayed at a hotel that night, staring at my phone as the hours ticked by. I knew the exact moment she came home. The calls started first, then the texts. At first, they were confused. "Eldon, where are you?" "Babe, are you okay?" Then came the panic. What the hell is this note? What do you mean, "don't call you"? Then finally, the desperation. "Eldon, please just talk to me. Whatever's going on, we can fix it. I almost laughed at that one. Whatever's going on. She still thought she had control. But the moment she walked into that empty house and saw my ring sitting there, she must have felt it. The space she had asked for. And she didn't like it one bit. I ignored every call, every message, every pathetic attempt Marjorie made to pull me back into the web of lies she had so carefully woven. I watched as her texts transformed from frantic to remorseful, from desperate to angry, and then, finally, to silence. For the first time in weeks, I was in control. I checked out of the hotel the next morning and drove to a town about an hour away. I didn't have a plan. I just knew I needed to be anywhere but there. The weight on my chest had lifted. The constant paranoia replaced by something else entirely. Peace. I rented a small apartment with no memory attached to it, no ghosts of a broken marriage lurking in the corners. Just an empty space that I could fill with my life, on my terms. And Marjorie? She unraveled. It didn't take long for word to spread. Friends started reaching out, some hesitant, some outright furious on my behalf. Apparently, Marjorie had gone into full-blown damage control mode, spinning stories about how I had been the one to abandon her, how I had overreacted and misunderstood her intentions. But there was one thing she couldn't spin. The truth. Too many people had seen her out with Joel. Too many whispers had already made their way back to me. And when people started questioning her loyalty instead of mine, the perfect little world she had built for herself collapsed. One evening, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity got the best of me. Eldon? Her voice was small, so different from the confident, careless tone she had used when she thought she had me fooled. I didn't respond. She let out a shaky breath. I don't know where you are. I don't even know if you'll listen to this, but I messed up. No kidding. I thought I needed space. I thought I wanted something different. But I was wrong. I was so wrong. I leaned back in my chair, listening. I keep thinking about our life, about how I took it for granted, about how you loved me, really loved me, and I threw it away for something that wasn't even real. Her voice broke on the last word. I miss you, Eldon. I miss us. I closed my eyes. For the first time in weeks, I felt nothing toward her. No anger, no sadness, no longing. Just nothing. I had already moved on. I hung up without saying a word. Months passed. I rebuilt, slowly, steadily. I put the pieces of my life back together. And to my surprise, I found happiness in the simple things. Morning coffee on my balcony, evenings spent walking through a quiet town where no one knew my name. The freedom of waking up every day with no one to lie to me. And then one day, I met someone new. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't some whirlwind romance. It was just easy. A chance encounter at a bookstore, a shared laugh over a ridiculous novel, a conversation that turned into coffee, then dinner. Her name was Lorraine. She was nothing like Marjorie. Where Marjorie was calculating, Lorraine was genuine. Where Marjorie craved secrecy, Lorraine valued honesty. She didn't need space. She just needed me. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't someone's backup plan. I wasn't someone's safety net, their convenience,